In this video, I'm going to take you through how you can build an agent for your website to help customers self-serve on the knowledge that you've got so that they don't need to call you. The tool we're using here is Microsoft Copilot Studio, and this tutorial is in 5 parts. Chapters are below if you want to jump ahead. I'm going to start by introducing you to the tool, what is Copilot Studio, and show you how you can very quickly create your first agent just by describing it in natural language. You do not have to be technical to be able to do this. From there, what you're going to do is test your agent, start asking it the kinds of questions that your customers will ask and see how well it's performing on the responses. Of course, you're going to want to refine it from there, and there are many tools that we can use to change the tone of the answers, to add additional knowledge, and then also to take control of the conversation if there are particular topics where you as an organization want to make sure that your agent is answering in a very predetermined way rather than using AI. So you can do both of those things with this tool. And then finally, we're going to talk about the channels of where you can publish it and how you do that, and a few more other things that you might like to know that you can do beyond this beginner tutorial. Let's get into it. To get started, you go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com and you will need to sign in with your work or school account. If you don't already have access to this tool, it's very easy to go through the steps to sign up for a free trial, and you'll be able to follow along with everything I'm doing here. Now, the first thing you'll see when you log into Copilot Studio is this describe your agent to create it. So you can just go ahead and put in natural language what it is that you want your agent to do. Now, the concept of what we're doing here is a self-service agent on your website. So I'm going to start with a website that has a whole lot of knowledge in it already. We're just going to point the agent to that website, and it's going to be able to use AI to answer questions. You don't have to create all of the questions and answers. Copilot Studio is an agent building platform. It's going to give you the combination of being able to use those AI type generated answers as well as workflow automations. And we're going to have a look at that as we go through the tutorial here. This is what's known as a low code toolset. You do not have to be able to write code here. This is all drag and drop and increasingly describe in natural language what you want to do rather than even needing to know the pieces. So let's have a look at this to start with. Describe your agent to create it. I'm just going to copy and paste something that I've prepared earlier here so that you don't have to watch me type. I want to create an agent to support customers in selecting the right Microsoft Surface device. So what I'm going to do here is use a Microsoft website that's got information about those Surface laptops, and honestly, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. By the time I'm done, I'm just going to be feeling the FOMO of wanting one of these devices. I apologize if I'm doing that to you too. But this is a good example of a website, and let's just take a look at what we're using here that has a lot of information in it. There's a lot of information in here about the different types of laptops, Surface devices, all of their specifications. And customers would have questions about this. So we're making something here that would answer those questions. While we're here, I'm going to grab that URL so that we can use it in a minute. Now you'll see a lot of things happened on the screen here from my one sentence prompt. I just said, I'd like to build an agent that can help with this. And look at all of the things that we've got here. This agent helps customers choose the right Surface device by answering queries. And there's a whole lot of information that's popped up on the side here. The concept of what this is doing is providing this agent with instructions on how to behave. This is going to help it determine what its purpose is, how it should answer questions. We can edit all of this and you can start to put in the types of tone of voice that you want your brand to use. But for now, just look at how cool that is in it generating for itself. So now let's determine a name for your agent. How about Surface Advisor? That seems fine. You can choose any other name that you like. If you want to give your agent a personality, you can do that. I am going to say, yes, that sounds fine. Or you can suggest another name. Again, you can go back and change the name of this lady. You're not locked in here. So let's refine the instructions. Let's give it a little bit more detail here. It should act as a friendly and knowledgeable customer service representative who can answer questions for the customer about Surface devices, including specifications, comparing models, and helping the customer choose the right device for their needs. Watch what happens to my instructions on the right-hand side of the screen as it processes this. Did you see that switch? It's actually changed from the more I refine the conversation here, it's actually using my natural language input to turn that into prompts on the side of how it's going to work. So now we say, let's determine if there are any publicly accessible data sources. So again, this is the website that we are using here. So if you haven't done that already, we can grab that URL and paste that in there. And that is now going to create an agent that is connected to all of the knowledge on that website. All right, we are set up and ready to go. Once you've done that, you click create, and this is going to take less than a minute, usually. If you've just signed up for Copilot Studio for the first time, this part can take a little bit longer, but once we're in there, we're good. All right, let's have a look at what we've got on the screen now. This is my agent, and this is my test canvas and my building canvas. So what we've got here is all of the pieces that we just were working with. You'll see this little gray button will come up in a second when it's finished deploying. So this is the description we just created, the instructions that we just created, and then we've got some other pieces here. So as you build out your agent, there are different things you can do. One of them is to add knowledge. So you'll see we've got this Surface website here. We're going to add some more knowledge later. You can also get your agent to take action on behalf of the user, retrieving information from internal databases or sending information out. Triggers, more than I'm going to cover in this video, but you can actually use this platform to design agents that will act in the background without a chat interface. That's a whole other video. And then topics, which allow us to take control of conversation in a certain way. And again, we're going to go through all of that. You'll see my edit button is now live, which means I could come in here and change any of these things or cancel it. So now let's move to testing the agent. And we've got this test canvas on the right-hand side here where you can start to see how it is going to respond to your questions. Now, all I've done is what I've shown you. I've pointed at that website. I've given it this basic description. Let's come in here and ask it a question now. What is the difference between the Surface Pro and the Surface Laptop? And it's going to draw the answer using the instruction I've given it and the AI to produce that answer and also provide a reference back to the original site. Not bad. So this is not going to be enough, right? This is a starting point, but there are many, many more things you can do. Please don't just kind of go, great, I've pointed at my website, I'm done, hooray, because there's a lot more that you're going to want to do here for something that you're going to put out into a public domain representing your brand voice. So we're going to take you through those things. So first thing that we've got here is the idea of general knowledge. So this is actually using the knowledge that I pointed it to, but you'll see here that we've also got by default this idea of general knowledge. Now this is more like what you get with something like ChatGPT, where you just ask it a question and it's able to answer anything based on its training. So we've got a agent here, which is answering questions about Microsoft Surface devices. What happens if I come in here and ask a question that is not really on topic? What is the difference between an iPhone and an iPad? Now have a think about if you were genuinely building this or whatever this looks like for your brand. There are going to be many questions that you don't want it to ask. I could easily have sort of said, how do I make a chocolate cake or anything else, and it would answer those things as well. That's because we've got this general knowledge enabled. And usually if you're doing something that's for your brand and publishing it on your website in this way, you don't want that to be part of what's going on. So let's switch that off and click continue. And then you'll see what happens here is that we'll give it a second and we'll test that question again. And once I've switched off that general knowledge, we use this button here to refresh the test pane. I'm going to put that in and it should now say, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer because I'm assuming the difference between an iPhone and an iPad is not available in the knowledge source we've given it. So now this is only answering questions from the knowledge source we've given it. We've really controlled that down. So just take a moment here. This is what we've done is created, this is different from a chatbot. Like in the old days, if you wanted a chatbot for your website, and when I say old days, I only mean like 2 years ago, if you wanted a chatbot for your website, you would go in and say, I need to, ask, these are the questions the customer might ask, and this is how we want that to answer, and you're designing all those conversational paths. There is still absolutely a place for that. But the long tail of questions or the time it would take to build out something that could answer all of the questions from here is just completely different now. And this is something where you can get something quite quickly to say, here's the knowledge that we already have as an organization, and surface that out with AI over the top of it for your customers plus this important part of really controlling the knowledge, that it's only doing this for what you allow it to answer on. You can control it and say, don't answer other random questions and don't use other things. So that's really important. Let's ask another related question now that's in the zone, but perhaps isn't so great. So what if we say, what is Copilot? So this is something where people are buying a Surface device. These devices now have a Copilot enablement, Copilot button on them. But the concept of what Copilot is isn't likely to be completely in the Surface website. Remember, that's all we've pointed it to. So it's giving me an answer that's actually not bad, but I think we can do better than this. Now let's have a look at how we can refine this agent to get some improvements in what we might want to do here. So we saw that we could switch off asking a question about something unrelated, but what if the customer asks, what is Copilot? So if you're having something on a website that's talking about Surface devices, this is absolutely a relevant question because these devices have Copilot buttons on them, but the Surface website isn't really the best source of information for answering that. And remember, we've switched off its ability to just answer in general. So it's coming back with an answer. It's talking specifically about Copilot in Windows. It's giving the answer in reference to the Surface laptop, which is fine, but not really enough. So what we can do here is give it multiple knowledge sources. So what I'm going to do is come back into this knowledge section. You'll see here that we've got the original one we created for the Surface device, but I'm going to come in here and add additional knowledge. I'm going to use another public website, and this time I'm actually going to come into the Copilot Learning Hub on Microsoft Learn. Let's grab this URL. We will come back in here and paste that in and add it. Now, don't skip over the descriptions. The description now actually makes a difference in how the AI is able to answer questions and find out what's going on. So I'm going to say this knowledge source provides information about what Microsoft Copilot is and how to use it. Okay, and we will click add. I should also go back to my one about the Surface devices and put a similar description in there. The more knowledge you add and the more different topics and things you add as we build this out, those description things become very important. The other thing we're going to do at this point is choose to enable what's called generative orchestration. This is a smarter way of using AI for your agent to figure out where it should go to find answers to questions or to do the things that it should do. This is relatively new technology in the product. This is going to give you a much, much better response in terms of the quality of the response and the ability for the agent to use the right information sources for the right things, especially once you've got multiple knowledge sources in there. And remember, do the right thing with your description. So let's come in here again. Let's give this a refresh and we will try again. What is Copilot? So I've now just given it another knowledge source with a description, and now it's got more information to work from. You'll see once I've switched on that generative orchestration that this canvas on the left-hand side here starts to behave a little bit differently. This is also giving you a little bit more visibility in saying it's searched over these two things and it's found the output from that Microsoft Learn site, which is correct. So you'll see now that the quality of that answer is a whole lot better than it was. Let's do a couple more refinements here. Firstly, this "Hello, I'm Surface Advisor" greeting message isn't necessarily the best. So we're going to go into topics here. We're going to come back to topics in the next session. But for now, in the system topics, there's one here called Conversation Start. And this is the one that is doing that greeting. So if I click in here, you'll see that this is what's going on. So we can keep the name in there. "Hello, I'm Surface Advisor Virtual Assistant." I use AI to answer your questions. It's actually good practice to have this in here. This part, though, is more of an instruction to the maker. I'd love to help you choose your next Surface, your, let's say, new Surface device. And once you've done that, click out of that box, and now the save button is enabled and you can click on that. So that's just going to be a friendlier greeting towards the customer, because remember, this is sitting out there and having that customer facing experience. So greeting topics sorted. There is one other thing that we can do here is to change the personality a little bit of what's going on. So you'll remember we've got these instructions in here. So let's come in here and change this a little bit. So instead of maintain a professional and helpful tone, let's get rid of that. So let's put in here, you are excited that the person is interested in buying a Surface device or using Copilot. You let your enthusiasm show. Greet the customer warmly and use emojis. Now, there is an art to this. Let's save it and give it a second to update. You can do a lot with the instructions. This is the part that will completely change the tone and the way it responds. You can do things like use bullet points, changing the style of the answer. So this is a place that's worth playing around with. Let's have a look at the difference now. If I come back and ask that question that I asked in the first place, what is the difference between the Surface Pro and the Surface Laptop? And you'll see now, hopefully it's going to give me a warm greeting and it's going to use emojis in its response, as well as actually answering the question, but this should sort of change the tone of the output. So there we go. Hello, smiley face, I'd be happy to help you compare. So it's still giving me the answer and it's just a much chirpier tone. But as I said, you can do a lot here to refine that. So now that we've finished doing all of those refinements, and this is something that in a real world situation you'd want to do a little bit more than that, let's look at how we can control the conversation even further. Our next piece here is to work with topics. So topics are important because they allow you to actually take a predetermined control of what the conversation will do. So let's say we have this question again of what is Copilot. So let's come back in and see what it's asking for. It's actually providing that very general answer there. But what if we wanted to, distinguish between, are you talking about the personal version of Copilot or the business version of Copilot, and provide a sort of a pre-canned answer. So this is anything where you want to take manual control of the conversation. So what I'm going to do is come in here and let's say add a topic. Now you can create from blank, but you can also describe the topic that you want. I'm going to call this one, what is Copilot? And what we're going to do is put something in here. Again, I'm just going to copy and paste this here. Help a user to understand the high level concept of what Copilot is and what it does. Ask the user first if they're interested in Copilot for personal use or business use and provide a relevant answer. A couple of things are going to happen here. This is building out a topic, and you can use topics with conditional branching and logic to be able to sort of have that more traditional chatbot conversation flow. But because I've got AI enabled in here and because it's a topic that this thing knows about, it's actually also starting to fill the answers for me. So let's close this part down and have a look at what it's done. So what this is going to do is the description of when the agent should use this topic is queries about what is Copilot, explain Copilot. It doesn't need to be exactly those words. This is going to use this to understand the intent of what the user's asking. So what happens is we come back with a message here. Copilot is an AI-powered assistant that helps you with tasks. Now I can obviously edit this, but I'm going to take a bit of a shortcut here because the AI has done the work for me, and why not? And now it asks a question. Do you want this for personal use or business use? And we've now got branching logic. If it's personal use, then answer this way. If it is business use, answer this way. You can build all of these things out. You can come in here and add a node and put in, send a message, ask a question. That's a whole other deeper area in itself. But this concept here is that you can take manual control of this conversation. Let's save this and immediately see what this does when the user now asks this same question. Let's refresh this. So now let's ask this question again, what is Copilot? And you'll see that what it does is answers the question using that topic that we just created. So it's popping up here with the topic rather than knowledge. It's giving me those options between personal use and business use. Those buttons were created just because I created that conditional branching in there, and it's giving me those answers. If I jump back into another topic here, should I buy a Surface Pro? so the person is jumping around all over the place, you'll see that it will revert back into that general knowledge source around what's going on and find the answer from the Surface Pro source. So this is actually giving you that ability to take manual control of the conversation around those things. And this part is a big part of the art of getting a good result for your organization with a self-service agent, minimizing that risk. And so you do need to do some careful planning and thought about that orchestration of the conversation. Where do you want to have that determined control of what's going on, and where do you want the AI to answer the questions? And quite often that might be the top 10 or 20% of things you might want to answer in a certain way, and then the AI is very good as that sort of fallback for the rest of it. But just think carefully about how you want to map out those things and how much control you want over those conversations. Now it's time to publish your agent. So what we're going to do first is click on the settings button here. And the first thing we need to have a look at is the security. Now you can publish agents with this tool for internal or external use. What happens is that the authentication by default is set to authenticate with Microsoft, because it assumes you might want to start by publishing something internal into Teams or using SharePoint or something like that. But in this case, we are making this publicly available to any channel. It's got a little warning there, and it's going to make sure I understand what I'm doing. Yes, I definitely want to do that. So you need to kind of explicitly say, yes, this is a public agent. Once that's done, let's come back to the agent details here. This is where you can change the name. You can add an icon if you want to do any of those things. Let's close out of the settings there. Click on the publish button, and the risk there is that we've made it publicly available, so we'll publish it. And then you've got a range of channels that you can work with. For what I'm going to show you here, I'm just going to put it out into the demo website, but realistically, this is something that you would put on your own website. So let's take a look at the channels that are available here. Bunch of different things. You can publish this once and put it out on multiple channels. So you can put it on your website, but you can also use it as a voice agent. So you could actually have people calling and asking questions and having it answered with a voice. You can use it inside any of these popular chat-based messaging services as well. So you don't have to rebuild for lots of different things. So if it's going onto your website, you're going to grab that code and then give that to your website developer to put it on your website. For now, what I'm going to do is put this onto a demo website just so that I can actually show you this thing working. And there we go. There it is on the website. And I can come in here and say, should I get a Surface laptop? And it will go ahead and answer the questions. Now, don't run away. I've got a bonus topic for you. And if you've come this far, I want you to write a comment in the comments below with something like just bonus. And the people who haven't come this far won't know what they've missed, or maybe they will. I'm going to show you how you can use an action in here. So you can see here that in addition to all the channels we had earlier, you can also connect the agent up to a customer engagement hub. So if you've got one of these big CRM platforms with a contact center and actual people taking calls, you can do that escalation. More than I can show you here. I just want to show you something else that you can do if you don't have that, or if you want to do something else as well. So what we're going to do here is add an action to send an email to the customer and copy the customer service rep on a callback of some kind. This might look familiar to you if you have used Power Automate before. So I'm going to look for the action that is send an email. There is Office 365 Outlook. Give it a second. It will authenticate that I'm using this. You might have noticed there was also one from a shared inbox, which is probably more realistic in this scenario, but my demo environment here doesn't have that. It's authenticated me. You'll have to just sign in if you haven't done this before already. And then we're going to click through. Now, all I need to do here is tell it when to use this action and what inputs it's looking for. So what I'm going to do is say this action is used when the customer asks to escalate to a human agent. The authentication is straightforward here because this is just me as the user, but there are more complex authentication methods you can set up depending on what you want to achieve. But for what we're doing here, me as the person who's authoring it, this is absolutely fine. And now I've got inputs and outputs. So you can see this action requires who's it going to, what's the subject, and what's the body. Now you can choose with each of these things to set it as a preset value, or you can ask it to find that information from the chat. And I'll show you what this does. So we're going to leave these three, the to, the body, and the subject of the email just as all, hey, it's up to you to figure this out from the chat on your own. But I am going to add one in here that's predetermined, which is a CC to the human agent. So we're going to set that one as a particular value and put in the email address. So let's say it's like demo@customerservice.com, and I can just click done. And then now that is set up that that's a fixed value, and all of the other things it's going to figure out from the chat. So let's create that action now and see it in action. Can I do that? This is a really interesting way of thinking, right? Because typically you'd want to go, oh, I need to create a topic that says, what's your email address? What's your question? Those kinds of things. I haven't done any of those things. There is one more thing I'm going to do though, which is to go into the topics and go into the standard system topics, because there is an out of the box escalation topic, which is designed to work with those customer service system channels. So I'm going to just switch that one to off so that it doesn't get confused, because otherwise it's going to think it's trying to do that and I haven't got that one set up. All right, let's give this a go. So let's say the person now asks, should I buy a Surface laptop? And it's going to come back with the answer. And the person is going to be dissatisfied with the answer. They're just not really getting it and they want to speak to a human. So we go, okay, I'd like to escalate to a human. Something like that. And again, the better I am with my language in the way I set this up, the better it's going to be. Now look what happened now. It's understood that it needs to call that action. It's understood that it needs these inputs, the to, the subject, and the body, and the other one here is the CC, but it's already got this one. So what it's doing now is figuring out how to get that information. So it says, please provide the email address that you want to send it to. I didn't author that part of the topic. It just knows that's what it's looking for. So I can say, let's go lisa@demo.com. And now watch what happens. See, it's populated that. It's figured that out. And it says, what would you like the subject of the email to be? So let's put this in, Surface Laptop Help. What would you like the body of the email to say? And I might say something like, what is the maximum RAM? Watch what happens here. It's still got all of the knowledge available to it, and it's actually helping me out here because I've said this is the maximum RAM. Instead of just putting that straight into the action, it's actually answered my question. So it's not just kind of blindly putting everything in. It's actually sort of going ahead. If I open this one back up again, you'll see that it's still missing that and it still hasn't taken the action, but it's provided me with an answer. So I don't understand the information on the website and would like to talk it through. So I'll put something that's just, I know is not in the knowledge article, and it understands. See, now it's populated. I'm pointing at the screen and you can't see where I'm pointing here with mouse, Lisa. It's exciting when these things work. So now what it's done is it's put that in the body and it's confirmed that it's sent the email. It's used that nice happy tone. We can see that it's sent the email there. And just to prove that works, here we've got Surface Laptop Help as the subject line. That's the person that we asked it to send it to. It's CC'd it to the customer service person. I just put my own email address in there so that I could show you this working. And then it actually, you'll see it's actually put in hello Lisa. I've used Lisa both ways here, but you can see that it's put those things in there together. You can do more sophisticated things. I know you want more on action, so that is a topic I'm going to come back to. I hope you can see here how easily it is to put these pieces together, how much flexibility you have with tweaking and really planning out something to build an agent for your website. Thanks for watching, and follow along with my playlist here for more all things Copilot Studio, plenty more to come.